because they have not synthesized COVID itself yet. They are using stem cells to, create a facsimile of COVID for your body to react to and for your immune system to learn.
Well, and they're blank cells, so they can actually. The reason why stem cells are so good is because they haven't been given a job to do yet, so they can actually be put into a place and then learn their new job, if you will. They can get sent to an area, and it's like, okay, now we grow to do this, and that's why.
On the stem cell portion of the argument, my mother, who is a very staunch, super Christian, super conservative, absolutely against abortion, was making a "my body, my choice" argument against getting the vaccine, which I thought was absolutely fucking hilarious.
Well, there's a whole lot of that. There's a whole lot of that going on.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that whole aborted fetus tissue argument went into my sister claiming that sun chips have aborted fetus tissue in them. And I've done quite a bit of research on this, and I have deduced where this argument comes from. It all stems back to this food additive company called Senomyx, Senomyx. And the story goes that in 1973, I believe, they were able to synthesize kidney stem cells from a female aborted fetus for biological testing of food, like what food would do to the human body. Has been synthesized, and a great part of this argument with my family was I don't think they know what fucking synthesized means. It means it's not still it's man-made. It's not still aborted fetuses. It was originally cells from an aborted fetus that have since been synthesized. They are fake. They are not still human cells.
What's funny is I almost corrected you, but I wanted to hear how the rest of it, when you first said synthesized stem cells, I was about to jump in and say, by saying synthesized, you realize that you mean that these aren't actually from fucking babies, right? But I knew that you had more coming, so I didn't want to say it. It's just funny. I thought that for a second. You said synthesized. Let's make sure we know what that fucking word
and that is the exact argument that I was making, is that synthesized means that it's not actually from an aborted fetus anymore. They are man-made. They are fake. They are replicas. So where this comes from, to get real sciencey for just a second, it is called the HEK293 cell. It is a cell line widely used in biological and medical research. And again, they were obtained from a actual aborted fetus in 1973, but have since been man-made. And those are used to test artificial additives to food. Therefore, there are not aborted fetus tissue cells in fucking sun chips. Maybe the synthesized cells, quite possibly the synthesized cells used from an aborted fetus in 1973 were used to test food additives and food coloring in a petri dish to make sure that they are safe for human consumption, were used. But aborted fetuses are not in fucking sun chips.
You know what is very interesting to me about this argument is there's a perfectly good and sensical argument to be made using all the information that is legitimate in front of us. In my opinion, a person could ask, why are we making food with things that we need to test on organisms to see if it's safe? Why are we pushing the limits of what we do with the chemicals like on planet Earth to see what we can put into our body, so much that we need these complicated labs using I almost said sun cells. We're using stem cells to test sun chips. That makes you say, what are these food makers doing? At least in my mind, what are these food makers doing that they need to test out their products? You know, like in these very crazy kind of ways. Like, can't you just like go get some fucking oats and make a chip the way they used to fucking do it? You know, like
I would not argue with that for a fucking second. I'm looking at this article still right now, and there's a sentence in here that says Seminix's MSG enhancer gained the generally recognized as safe status from the Flavor Association. Like, that does not sound good. Like, of course, like just as much as like polyethylene glycol, what the fuck ever, is not really safe to be putting in your body. I understand these arguments. If you came from a place of saying like, why is this a thing? Why are there not just natural alternatives to these things that would help us? I would give credence to that fucking argument. But instead, you're going to come at me and say I'm fucking Magneto and that I'm sterile, which I didn't want to have kids anyway, so fuck it. But all the same, I like, if when you go to the extreme, that only makes me want to disprove you, which is what this entire fucking segment is about, because you're out of your fucking mind. Because Facebook is not fucking research. TikTok is not fucking research. And this is what pisses me off. And we go on this all the time of like, the vast expanse of information on the internet. A lot of it is fucking wrong, but a lot of it is also right. You just got to pay attention and like click more, do a little more than just see a fucking Facebook post and regurgitate it.
And I don't mean to say this to pat myself on the back or to sound like I'm smarter than other people, because truly it blows my mind like that this is the case. But ever since Facebook has existed, and I've been alive the entire time Facebook's existed, and I've been a participant for most of the time that it's existed, I've never just seen a fucking news article, read it, and said, like, unless it was from a news source that I already trusted and knew was legitimate, I never have seen something on Facebook and not had, like, my curiosity spark in the back of my mind to say, I should check this out 3 more levels. Not once in my life have I thought I don't need to vet out this information. And that's what blows my mind more than anything, is that there's so many people who are that willing to just read something and say, oh, that's fact. That's what actually gets me going more.
And that's a very interesting point you bring up, because as before I was talking about how once upon a time the news was just, these are the facts, now form your own opinion. People like our parents who grew up with a news source like that, for primarily, now seeing just random bullshit on Facebook, still have the same mentality where like, oh, these must be the facts, so I'm going to roll with this. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Well, no, I do. I was simply looking for, as I was listening, I was thinking about a counterpoint. And I think it's an important counterpoint to recognize that, and this is where I think I got off track actually earlier in our discussion, but it's around the same idea that we do have to take recognition of the fact that we're in a better situation for sharing information than the world has ever been in. So there's a legitimate argument to be made to say that our parents, as much as they had a more stable news source that they could look at as being trustworthy, if let's say you lived in a state where your local newspaper leaned conservative, that would influence the entire politics of the state, because your major newspaper did lean that way. And like leaning one way or another is not new to the like internet age, right? Like newspapers have had political bias since the beginning of time, but they used to be a little bit better about it. about the way they did it. They would keep more of their opinion to the op-ed pages and then just print facts like this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. You make your decision. So I want to be careful with the thought of that we're not at an advantage by having more people bringing us news. What we truly need, we don't need less news or less stories. What we need is a population that knows how to disseminate bullshit from the truth. Like people who know that, like, if I fact check this 3 different places, and if I look at a conservative outlet, liberal outlet, and maybe a more moderate news outlet, and then I bring all those ideas together, I can form like a pretty balanced idea of what actually happened. Like if we can teach people that, there's no problem with all this information being out there. The problem is that people read one thing and they go, "Oh, well, I read it,"
All right.
and like therefore it's true. But I do think that that's in general actually more of a problem with the older generations, because in their life, as you were saying, they've always been able to trust the news. So now all of a sudden you throw all these extra sources and they're like, well, I don't know how to make a web page, and they've got a .com address, and they have a headline and it's showing up on Facebook. It must be true. It's got to be true. You know what I mean? They don't know. They don't have the ability to
no
be
matter
skeptical.
what side you're on, Tom Brokaw might as well have said it. And that's how it is.
Right. But even Tom Brokaw was like, I guarantee had a say in the news that was being told to America. So I think that's something I didn't really express in the point I was trying to make. So I just quickly, I'm sorry I kind of cut you off there, but want to say, like, it's important to remember that since the beginning of time of newspapers, they've all been deciding what stories they're going to share with us. So, like, I think it's important to keep that in mind as much as we can talk bullshit about what's going on today,
Absolutely. And, as I'm currently running out of time on our recording, if I may, I just got one final thought. Fox or CNN, Coke or Pepsi, no matter what ideologies they hold, in the end, you're still going to lose your teeth.
Although, oddly enough, they're one of the last things to stay after you die. So,
you'll be buried with your opinions. Well,
you have a better in today's America. You have a better chance to hold on to your teeth after death than while living.
This has been the Loose Stool with Matt and Nick. We thank you so much for listening. Thanks for sticking with us. We know we took that little intermission there, but we really appreciate you guys listening every week, or at least every week that we put out an episode. So,
well, we were supposed to have a 2-week break coming up here pretty soon. I don't know if we postpone that a little bit or not, but hit that subscribe button, and it won't matter. You'll always know when we got an episode.
Follow us on social media. That is at Loose Stool Pod, and whatever podcast system that you're a part of, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever you're on. Make sure you just subscribe to the show, and then you'll always know when we got a new episode out for you guys.
Remember when things used to be that's just like specific in technology? Like, it's only been like 10, 15 years where you just do everything on one device. Like, if this was 15 years ago, you would have had to buy like a podcast, like it's something that just did podcasts, right?
So subscribe to us on Nintendo 64 and buy our new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and click that like button. We very much appreciate you guys. If you'd like to buy us our next beer, we'd be ever so appreciative. Again, that is the Loose Stool Podcast on Patreon.com. All right, creeps.
And if you'd like to request a CD recording of this episode so that you can listen to it for the rest of the time, and have it on your own, email us at loosestoolpod@gmail.com and you
Yeah.
won't get it.
We'll put it on a C10 cassette for you.